Rev up your engines! If you watch me any length of time, you know old Scotty's not a big fan of buying cars at an auction. Well, this guy's proved me entirely wrong in his case. He got this Honda Pilot at Copart. It's a huge online auction for $11,000 with 7,000 miles on it, and I'm not making it up. The guy who bought it is 20 years old, so they say young people are stupid. Well, this guy's not stupid at all. It did have hail damage, but they fixed it perfectly. There's not a ding anywhere on this thing. He went and looked at the car, the actual car. Realized Copart is humongous. It started out as one junkyard, and now it's a gigantic world business. They're in Saudi Arabia, Canada, Great Britain, the United States. Big corporations do one thing a lot of times. They make mistakes. Now, the reason the bidding started at 5 and he got it for 7 was they said the car had frame damage in big letters. Frame damage, frame damage. He was smart. He went and looked at the car. And what did he discover? There wasn't any frame damage. The thing is in immaculate shape. The owner of the car told me some interesting stuff. What probably happened to this car was the original owner got the hail damage. They took it in to get it repaired. When it was done, the guy decided he didn't want the car and got rid of it. He assumes that the adjuster for the company said that it had frame damage, bigger damage than it actually had, to up the insurance bill, so he got paid more. I see that all the time. As a matter of fact, I had a customer years ago. He wanted to get a Porsche for his son, and he knew an insurance adjuster. Kid had a Porsche, and in the ice he slid into the curb and bent some stuff. Undercarriage had a little bend on the lower control arm. The insurance adjuster knew his friend was looking for a Porsche for his son, so he wrote that thing up as a totaled car when it needed maybe $800-900 worth of parts and have them put on. He bought it. It was totaled for the cheap total price. Then they fixed it, and the son got a Porsche for a low price. There's a lot of weird deals that go on. Well, in this case, this thing didn't have frame damage. He gets a car that's got 7,000 miles on it for $11,000 when originally it cost $48,000. You can't beat that deal. But see, that happens with big corporations. They buy thousands and thousands of cars. They sell them. They don't know that much of the history of it. As long as they know they're making a profit, they don't care what the past was. But, and this is a gigantic but, on their behalf, they had to put in big letters, frame damage in red, because they thought it had frame damage. They didn't actually go under and look at it. I've seen the absolute opposite happen, where cars had problems that they never saw. I've had people bring me cars from a dealership, and they say, here's the Carfax, it's never been in a wreck. And a blind man could tell that car had been in a wreck. You could smell the mold. You could see where the radiator had spray paint on it because the car had been repainted. In this case, the car wasn't in bad shape at all, yet they thought it had had frame damage, and these big companies are so worried about being sued that they put it in big letters, frame damage. It didn't have frame damage. These are the kind of cars that you'd bring to a guy like me to check out, and I'd say, well, they missed that one. Get it, it's got a great deal, you know? You don't have to worry about anything. Now it's a Honda Pilot. That's their big SUV. They're very popular. And guess where they're made? Alabama! They're very popular vehicles. But the big deal is they got 3-row seating. Everybody and their brother's looking for 3-row seating. And these aren't cramped 3-row seats. You actually get a window view. You're not looking at the side frame of the car. They're very luxurious cars. They've been out for quite some time. It's got the great Honda V6 engine. I can't stand these beauty covers. They're so annoying. Can't see what's going on. Get out of there. Okay, now you can see the power plant. Honda's making these V6 engines for one heck of a long time. Now there's only one thing I got against these engines. Listen. They're still running timing belts. For the life of me, I don't understand Honda. They make great engines, right? They're 4-cylinder engines. They're all got timing chains. On these V6s, they just keep running timing belts on it. It's an archaic design. And if you're like me and you keep your cars forever, every 100,000 miles, you got to take it all apart, put new belts on. When are they going to go to chains and learn with the rest of the world? I mean, this guy buys and sells his car so much. He bought it with 7,000 miles. Now he's got like 46. He's driven it all over the place. He's not even going to have it when he even gets close to 100,000 miles, so he doesn't care. So obviously this guy got a fantastic deal. He just told me that Carmax offered him $36,000 cash for the car, but he didn't sell it because he's driving it around. Considering he paid 11 grand for the car, not a bad profit here. All-wheel drive, so it's great in the snow, and it's got the ZF transmission, the German-made transmission. Now, starting last year, that was actually standard in all the pilots. When this one was made, only the fancy touring editions were the one to have the ZF transmission. And strangely enough, he doesn't like the way it shifts, but it shifts the way it was designed. And I gotta say something, for a 20-year-old, he's a bit on the lazy side because he doesn't want to use these paddle shifters. He says, no, why would I get a car like this and shift it by hand? So let's start it up. It's a totally smooth engine. Now, you hear a little bit of noise in it. Not much. I can actually hear the injectors clicking a little bit, but you really don't hear it when you have the hood closed and you're driving a car. So unless you're a fanatic and you live under the hood of your car, you're not really gonna care. Because inside the car, do you hear anything? No, you don't hear that little bit, so who cares? The last 4,000 miles, it's averaging 19.8 miles a gallon, which is typical for a vehicle of this size with this much power. It does have 306 horsepower, and with that ZF transmission, it's gonna get the best combination of power and gas mileage you can out of a vehicle that's this big. Do not ever buy a vehicle this size if you want phenomenal gas mileage, because it's impossible. They weigh too much, and they're made to ride well. They're not made cheap so they bounce down the road and get great gas mileage. They're a luxury SUV. Don't expect good gas mileage. None of them get good gas mileage. This is a lot of technology, including all-wheel drive torque. When you put it on, you can vary the torque to each of the wheels, so that it corners like a dream. It'll even show you which wheel has more torque. They put all that fancy Acura technology into this Honda. Honda owns Acura, right? You corner, it even shows you which has more torque. And yes, it has horsepower. There's no arguing that. Corners like a dream. It rides quite well for a big SUV. Now, you're always going to get some bumps here because I'm in Rhode Island and they don't have that much money for the roads. The road going to my house, it's kind of got 10,000 bumps in it and a big large one right before my driveway. So it's actually a good thing. It keeps me from driving too fast. Hey, it's got everything. The heated, cooled seats. You can call for emergencies. But look at this. We're talking old technology. It's got a CD player. Okay, it's a Blu-ray player too, for the screen back here. But it also plays CDs. You know, everybody uses their phones these days. Even an old man like me. I use Spotify all the time. I mean, it's on your Android. You don't have to mess with carrying all those stupid CDs around and get scratched. I mean, come on now. Even I'm not that cheap. I'll pay a subscription a month so I can listen to any song that anyone ever created whenever I feel like it. So here we have it. This man proved me wrong by buying an auction car that was a fantastic deal. But let me give you one warning. He did physically go and check it out. In one of their lots, he went and he checked it out and found out it didn't have frame damage. You do not want to ever buy an auction car on scene. If you're in one state and it's in another, unless you're willing to travel, that is a big mistake. It was in his state, so he went there and he checked it out and he got a fantastic deal. There's things to be found like this. You could have all kinds of problems. They could ask too much money for him, but in this case, this slipped through the cracks. At some point in time, somebody said it had frame damage, which actually didn't have. He found that out and he bought it up. So as long as you get to look at them, you mess with auctions. But if it's one of these, oh, they push it up and it's auction, they push it back, you can't check it out before, stay away from those guys. That's too much of a gamble. And in this case, he had an interesting experience. The lot had tons of cars. They give you a vest, you go in, and when these guys get the cars, they just bring them with forklifts, put them on the ground. They don't know that much of the history of a lot of them. They allowed them to go in, start them up, look at them, check them out, and if you can do that and you're willing to go through the trouble of driving there, checking the vehicle out, if you can find a deal like he did, hey, I got nothing against that. That's a smart way. But never buy an auction car just blind, especially if you're online. There's a picture or something. Pictures can be deceiving. They can show the left side of the car, maybe the right side of the car is all smashed up, you know? You gotta check them out in person. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.